let's get into the Arizona Cardinals. Definitely, I mean, honestly, this whole division's up for grabs, but one of the favorites for sure. Let's start with, what are your thoughts on Chase Edmonds this year? Where do you have him ranked, and are you targeting him?
I'm definitely targeting him
For
easily.
sure. I would target him, but I would kind of temper expectations on him this year because I feel like this backfield is going to be more of a committee. I feel like we're seeing more and more of that in the NFL, but I don't hate Chase Edmonds. I think he should have been the starter last year over Kenyon Drake. I'm sure you've heard us say that numerous times over last season's podcast. But I don't know. The addition of James Conner is just like, why? Because you don't sign them just for insurance. They're obviously going to use them.
Well,
Yeah.
I read something. They interviewed Cliff Kingsbury. He said they like Edmonds. He's the smaller guy. They can use him for passing downs and running, but he's going to be the starter. And then they're like, we know James Conner as the downhill runner from the past. So that's going to be his role. So he could just be like a vulture in the red zone. I mean, he can catch the ball too, but I think they want to lean Edmonds as a starter rather as compared to last year where it was Drake, and they probably wanted it to be Edmonds to be the starter, but they already paid Drake so much money to come in. I'm leaning. I have I have Edmonds at 22, James Conner at 32. So the value, I still think it's all with Edmonds.
Yeah, I agree. I'm even further apart than you, Q. I have Edmonds at 20. I have James Conner at 38.
Same.
So Edmonds is my guy to go for sure this year. I got Edmonds, as obviously I already mentioned, right, running back 20, but he was running back 25 last year, and he only had 97 carries. He had 53 catches. He's going to be even more involved this year. I think he's easily on an RB2 option right after that, like the end of that 11 through like 19 running back tier. I think he's like that first guy, like after that. I wouldn't put him in the same tier as Chris Carson and those guys, but I think he's right after that, starts like the third tier.
He was another guy who had like some opportunities, like maybe Drake was out a game and Edmonds was a starter and just showed us why he's the backup. He couldn't do well for a whole game, but I think he'd definitely be a lot better this year.
Yeah, I like Chase Edmonds. We kind of mentioned James Conner. I said, would you rather prefer James Conner? It sounds like none of us do. How close do you think he can get to filling in that Kenyon Drake role?
I mean, he's not going to be the starter, so not close at all.
I did a poll.
I think James Conner is going to start.
Not me.
Kenyon Drake's
he might start a few games and then
Kenyon Drake was RB 16 last year. Edmonds was 25, like I mentioned. I think that just kind of flip flops a little bit personally. I think Edmonds is going to be higher. I think Conner is probably a little bit lower, and I don't think Conner gets any passing work. So I think he's going to be. That's why I have him lower than that as well. I think Edmonds is the primary receiving back here.
I did a poll like a couple weeks ago, maybe even a month ago. Who do you think the starter is and who do you think the handcuff is? And majority voted Conner's the handcuff to Edmonds.
I would agree on that 100%.
Yeah. It seems like Edmonds is the guy we're all favoring here. So go grab Edmonds as your low end RB2. Conner, more of a flex option at best, kind of probably going to be a touchdown dependent RB for sure. Outside of DeAndre Hopkins, are you targeting any pass catchers on this team? Can AJ Green make any noise? What about Christian Kirk or rookie Rondale Moore?
Please do not touch AJ Green, even with like your
virus.
worst enemy.
He's a virus.
No. I think AJ Green can make some noise. Last season,
Q.
Stop
falling for him. He's already hurt.
Last season,
dude, he's like 46 with a ridiculous injury history.
He's already hurt.
He came back last year for his first time playing football after 2 years of not playing, with a rookie quarterback throwing to him. And then I don't know who their backup, who doesn't matter. No, I think I'm on an island saying that I'm not the biggest Kyler fan. I don't think he's that good, but he's better than Joe Burrow and anything that was backing up Joe Burrow. So with DHop on the other side, grabbing most of the attention, I think that AJ could see some like Larry Fitzgerald type work.
If anybody sees that work, it's going to be Christian Kirk. And we saw signs of it last year. And what did AJ Green do last year? He just got hurt.
Well, I forgot to say this at the beginning. I'd like to congratulate, but also apologize to Christian Kirk for being voted the ugliest player in the league that I've seen.
Oh, come on.
If you're watching it, you could take it as an honor. or you could take it as motivation and work on something, man. But
Plastic surgery.
But
You're a
you're not.
scumbag.
I don't even think you're starting him confidently as a flex. Christian Kirk. He had a 3-game span where he scored like at least 15 points, and maybe someone like Gator and Sean were going back and forth trading him.
I was starting him as my flex. It was painful.
But
No
after
wide
that,
receivers sucked.
after those 3 games, he had scored only 8 points once, and the rest were all at least like 5 or less.
Yeah, Kirk only had 48 receptions, and now if AJ stays healthy, that's just another competition for him. So
Kirk, boomer bust. I like rookie Rondell Moore to emerge as the wide receiver 2 this year. He's more of a slot guy. So he's going to take over what Larry Fitzgerald was doing, but now he's younger. He's also got a lot of talent. Obviously, I'm not going to say more talented than Larry Fitzgerald, but maybe at this point in Fitzgerald's career. He hasn't decided on retirement yet, though. So I think he could still come back, right? Like, I don't think he's officially announced his retirement.
I don't think
How long is he going to wait?
I don't know. He's wiling out, but so he could
wants to win a
technically come
chip.
back, and I think that would
Facts.
hurt. That would hurt him a little bit, but I like Rondell Moore as the wide receiver 2 that I would like to grab late, because all 3 of these guys you're drafting as a late round draft flyer. I'd rather take my shot on the rookie who might be more involved in this offense.
I agree.
All right, let's get into cap or no cap. Kyler Murray's ceiling is QB1 and his floor is QB8. Is that cap or no cap?
No cap.
no.
Ever since his rookie season in 2019, in that rookie season, he finished the seventh best quarterback. Last year, he finished sixth best. Why is that such a tongue twister? I don't know. But yeah, his floor is obviously QB8, and he has all the potential in the world to be QB1. He's one of the quarterbacks, like I said earlier when I brought up Russ, that he runs. That helps a lot in fantasy. And he also has the best receiver in the league to throw to. And I just don't see him finishing outside of the top 8 at all.
Well, he actually said something last week or this week. He said that he would like to use his legs less, more of a luxury. He said that he needs to be more of a pocket passer. So if he somehow eliminates the ability to run or just decides to run less, that knocks him down a couple spots. So I could put him maybe not at 8. I'd say maybe 5, but I feel like he had also an issue throwing the ball deep or being accurate. He had a couple of stinkers last year, so I don't know.
I think it was more of the shoulder injury personally. He got injured a shoulder and he didn't really come back the same player he was. First like 8 or 10 weeks, he was definitely an MVP candidate. Shoulder injury happened. I think like in the first 10 weeks, he didn't have less than like 23 fantasy points any single week, or it might have been like 28. Like it was something crazy.
First 10 weeks, 9 games, he had 30 or more, 28 or more.
Yeah, he was on fire. That shoulder injury kind of messed him up a little bit. And he kind of struggled a little bit down the stretch there, but I think he'll be just fine. He still has one of the best wide receivers in the league. Even if you drop that rushing a little bit, he had 133 carries and had 819 yards. So if you drop that to Josh Allen's attempts, like 100, Josh Allen had 100 rushes, 102 rushes for 421 yards. So Kyler had double. I think Kyler still is going to get at least 500 rushing yards, which is more than anyone probably except Lamar Jackson and Cam Newton, but no one's drafting Cam. So Kyler Murray, I love him this year. Definitely no cap, QB1. I think his floor is probably QB5 for me. All right, let's get into the next cap or no cap. DeAndre Hopkins should be considered the wide receiver 1 in fantasy football still. Cap or no cap?
Cap.
Yeah.
What season were we coming into where he was really, truly considered the wide receiver 1 off the board, though?
I think I had him as wide receiver 1 last year.
He was even slept on. I think he was slept on coming into last year's draft. He got in our league. He got taken at 12 by K-Harp.
Yeah, he was. No, K-Harp didn't even take him.
No, he did. He took DHop and Julio.
He took Adams and Julio.
Oh, right. Who took DHop? Bart?
DHop went. Well, regardless, in any of our drafts, DHop never went wide receiver 1 off the board.
Yeah.
That's what I remember.
I had him ranked there, though, at least last year, possibly in the year before that as well. DeAndre Hopkins, to me, is still the best wide receiver in the league. Maybe not finishing fantasy-wise there, but I love DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, he's the best pure receiver.
He's number 2.
He was 28. In 2018, he was wide receiver 1.
I wish I could change his jersey.
So, love me, DeAndre Hopkins. I don't think he's number 1, though, so I'm going to say cap. Devontae Adams right now with Aaron Rodgers still slightly above him for me. I had DHop too. Yeah, Tyreek's right there as well. All right.
Matt's just still bitter about last year.
Cap or no cap, there
can
is
bring
no
it up
tight end
every
on this
division.
team that will be fantasy relevant on this squad.
No
Cap.
cap. Didn't even know any of the tight ends on their depth chart. They
Yeah,
didn't
Max
have
Williams.
no
Who?
Max with 2 X's.
Oh,
Max with 2 X's. And he was
gross,
even
dude.
and Fantasy Pros didn't even rank him in the top 50 tight ends.
Yeah, I know. No tight end should be drafted. Please don't do it. All right, let's get into our bold takes. Let's get it moving. We still got the Rams to get through here. So, Q, start us off. What do you got?
All right. So after a top 2 finish or whatever, he was a top quarterback last year. Kyler Murray's going to finish outside of the top 5 by the end of the season. I do take with a big grain of salt, maybe like a pile of salt, the whole rushing ability, maybe disintegrating, wanting to do that less with the receivers that he now has. And the last 7 games last year, he scored 20. He scored 34 points once. The rest he all scored 20 or less, possibly the shoulder injury. But I'm just a big Kyler Murray hater. I think he's too short to be an elite quarterback in this league. Even, he's done well. I will say that, but I could name a couple of guys that definitely be over him. The healthy Dak over him. Tom Brady. Just 2 other guys that may be
Tom Brady. What do you have
on
Tom
the
Brady
edge.
ranked?
Probably like 1.
1 second. Number 8.
Tom Brady's not finishing over Kyler Murray. I'd put a lot of money on that as long as
Maybe
there's no
not.
injuries.
Put the ring on it. Put the
You could have
ring
said,
on
could have
it.
said
put the
anybody
ring on.
except that.
I'll
Anyways.
think Tom Brady will finish next to him.
Maybe. Doubtful.
5 and 6.
All right. Kyler Murray is finishing. I'm going to go right off of Q's here, just build right into it. Not Super Bowl, but Kyler Murray's finishing QB1. DeAndre Hopkins will also finish as wide receiver 1. I know we were just talking about DHop being elite still, and obviously he hasn't been drafted as a wide receiver 1. Obviously Adams and Tyreek Hill are right there with him. It's obviously pretty close every single year. But I think this is the year where they kind of start to flourish. Last year, their first year playing together, they were good, but there were some inconsistencies here and there. I think they get that all figured out this year. AJ Green's not stealing any work from DeAndre Hopkins. Christian Kirk is a boomer bust guy. Rondale Moore, I think, like I mentioned, he'll be involved, but he's not taking any targets away from D-Hop either. So D-Hop, Kyler Murray, best stack this year.
Ooh.
Over Mahomes and Tyreek because they're both
No.
finishing number 1.
I still think it's Rodgers and Adams, like T-God said last
Damn.
week.
It could be. It could be. It's all
That's
3 of them are the best
spicy.
stacks. But I'm saying Kyler and D-Hop and Diggs and Allen are right there. Q, like Q said before.
Hurts and Smith.
I wish. Anyways, number 1 and number 1. T-Gods, what do you got for us?
Hurts and Hurts.
We're going back to the whole Chase Edmonds and James Conner debate. Chase Edmonds will finish over James Conner. I have no doubt about it.
Lock it in. Set it in stone.
We've seen James Conner with his whole health past. He cannot stay healthy. In his 4 years in the NFL, he's never played more than 12 games in a single season. He's only had over 169 rushing attempts once in his career, more than 7 touchdowns in a single season once. Yeah, so it's clear that he can't handle a full workload by himself. And Chase Edmonds last year had 53 receptions, 400 receiving yards, and added another 450 rushing yards. Like, we haven't seen him as like the number 1, but the number 2, he's been super solid, and there's no reason to think that he can't handle it. Like, he finished running back 25 last year as the number 2 on a team, and James Conner finished 28, being the number 1 on the team. Like,
Exactly.
James Conner, I mean, Edmonds he's gonna finish over him. That's the guy you want to get. You don't want to draft James Conner.
Lock it in.
Love it.
What do you got, Matt? Build right off of it.
I'm gonna build right off of it. I like Edmonds a lot much more than Connor, but I still think both of them finish outside the top 20. It's gonna be recollective of what we saw last year with Kenyon Drake and Chase Edmonds. I feel like there's never gonna be a true number 1 in Arizona. So I think James Conner's still gonna get his fair share of touches. I do think Edmonds will be a lot better, but I just don't see him getting that much volume to put him over that top 20 hump. I think he could still finish as a low-end RB2, but he's definitely not going to be like the best running back 2 to own.
Not even close. Yeah, I agree.
You got to also consider the Kyler runs, so he's a
Yeah, that's
option.
true.
Takes away some carries as well.
But this is another team that Cliff Kingsbury, he's on the hot seat also. They said if he doesn't do much, because they haven't made the playoffs and they have a very good team.
Yeah, they should definitely make the playoffs this year.
So if not, he could be gone as well. Kyler's man.
We shall see.